or constantly trying to make financial ends meet that result in a low-grade sense of, what's the point of trying? Feeling a bit crap most of the time, languishing, high-functioning anxiety, and maladaptive perfectionism are not, however, presentations that your GP will diagnose or treat. These don't fit the neat and tidy criteria in medical encyclopedias, and when your doctor asks if you've had any significant life events in the past year, the answer may well be no. So, people are left at sea in their not quite serious enough but utterly life-sapping existence. This is because we do not recognize the insidious impact of tiny t trauma. I tend to speak about tiny t traumas simply as tiny t's, as this pretty much universal experience has the right to be used and spoken of in everyday common language, because it is the little things that make life matter. But it's also the small, daily things that drain our vitality, spark, and potential. However, if we become aware of our own tiny t's, we can use them to our advantage by building a robust psychological immunity that will buffer us against the devastating impact of future big T traumas. Because you do matter. Listen to me. You do. Much more than you know right now. And by the end of this book, not only will you start to believe this, but those daily anxieties and frustrations will start to melt away. Trust me, I'm a psychologist. But not the kind you might imagine me to be. There's no couch, no beards, no judging nods, as there's no shame in our experiences, our mistakes, or even in our darkest thoughts. This book is what I know to be true from my 20-plus years of experience in research and practice. Every single person I have worked with has some form of tiny t, of which there are countless examples. However, the outcomes of tiny t tend to bubble up and present themselves in recognizable ways. And in this book, I will share with you the cluster of tiny t themes I have identified. I use the term themes as these are not medical conditions per se, yet they can affect people in common patterns. One, probably more, of these themes may be familiar to you, and you might feel like you're the only one who suffers from this. But right here, right now, I want you to know that these themes, ailments, or whatever else we want to call the set of signs and symptoms in each chapter, are very common indeed. As we don't have medical definitions, I can't give you exact percentages or figures about how many people feel these ways. But I can tell you from my experience and observations, if you don't have a tiny t theme, someone you know, someone very close to you, will. When guiding you through these tiny t flashpoints, such as low-grade panic, never quite feeling good enough, and even health problems like insomnia, weight gain, and chronic fatigue, I will of course give you practical and tangible ways to grapple with these issues, so that you can take back control of your life and no longer be a slave to tiny t. It's not easy to access psychological services these days, but we do know from research that bibliotherapy, what you're doing right now, can be helpful in reducing symptoms. Because we all have to deal with life's tricky problems, which are both complex and everyday, let's make it as simple and easy as possible. To do this, we will use my solution-focused 3-step method. The AAA approach. Step 1. Awareness. Discovering your unique constellation of tiny t and how this is affecting your lived experience in order to take control of your life. Step 2. Acceptance. This is often the most challenging part of the process, and the stage that I see many people try to piggyback over. Yet without acceptance, tiny t will still unduly influence your